Good evening. Hey, it's Monday night. We've got a great show on Voice Over Body Shop tonight.
As we always do.
As we always do. Mm-hmm. Great party last week, though.
It was fantastic. It was so fun.
Dave Walsh is going to be joining us in the studio tonight. We're going to talk about voiceover coaching and the TrueTell technique, which would be really cool. Plus, we've got lots of stuff, tech stuff. Hey, send us your questions into the chat room as well. And
we'll be watching.
And we'll be getting those questions, and we'll answer them. All that coming up right now on VOBS.
Two men, twin sons from different mothers, with a passion for voiceover recording technology and the desire to make recording easy for voice actors everywhere. Together in one place. George Whittam, the home studio engineer to the stars, a Virginia Tech grad with an unmatched knowledge of all the latest gear and technology in voiceover today. Dan Lenard, the home studio master, a voice actor with over 30 years experience in broadcasting and recording, and a no-holds-barred myth-busting attitude for teaching you how easy it is. Together, to bring you all the latest technology, today's voiceover superstars, and leading the discussion on how to make the most of your voiceover business. This is Voice Over Body Shop.
Voice Over Body Shop is brought to you by voiceoveressentials.com, home of Harlan Hogan's signature products. Source Elements, makers of Source Connect, Source Connect Pro, and Source Connect Now. vo2gogo.com, everything you need to become a successful voice artist. Voice Over Xtra, your daily resource for VO success. The VO Dojo, take your voiceover career all the way. J. Michael Collins Demos, when quality matters. And by voiceactorwebsites.com, where your voice actor website shouldn't be a pain in the butt.
And now, live from their super secret multimedia studio in Sherman Oaks, California, here are George Whittam and Dan Lenard.
Good evening. Hey. I'm Dan Lenard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is Voice Over
Body Shop.
or VOBS.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Well, we got past the party. We got past the holidays. Stop sending me brownies and cookies.
Aren't we starting a whole life challenge? Are you doing it?
Yeah, probably.
Now you have to.
I know I have
Because I called you out on the air live.
Darn. Okay. I need it. Way too much sugar.
I'm doing it.
Way too much sugar over the holidays.
Need a reset.
It is addictive. It's, once you start eating all those carbs, you gotta keep eating them.
Super addictive.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Absolutely. So we're going to try and get ourselves more svelte again as 2018 progresses here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tonight, Dave Walsh is going to be joining us.
That's right.
Dave's a noted coach here in L.A.
And notable.
And notable. And a bunch of other things too. But we'll figure out what those are when we talk to him.
Yeah.
But he's got the TrueTell technique, which is something I think people really need to learn. And learn and get the chance maybe to work with him, and maybe we'll run through some scripts with him and see what's going on.
Oh, cool.
We're also going to go do our tech update, and we're going to talk about acoustics.
Yep. It's one of the best topics in the voiceover studios. It's one of the most important topics in any voiceover studio, is getting your acoustics sorted out. So we'll kind of unravel a few things, demystify a few things, hopefully, and clear some stuff up for you guys.
Put a sledgehammer to the myths and misunderstandings.
Right.
Anyway, it's now time for...
And now, the Voice Over Xtra VOBS News. The latest and most comprehensive voiceover industry news. Brought to you live.
All right, here is the Voice Over Xtra news. Approaching agents. We get calls and emails like this. Hey, everyone says I have a great voice and I like to tell stories to my kids. So what should I do? Get an agent? Well, the answer is no. In fact, after you've trained and developed a comfortable voiceover career, you might never need or even want an agent.
But if your performance skill has reached a level where it might perk up the ear of casting directors and agents, there are some things to know before venturing on a hunt for an agent or two. In an article now in Voice Over Xtra, VO Pro Rick Lance shares 4 of those tips. 1. Take the initiative. Voiceover agents don't seek and call you. So research agents online and seek the advice of colleagues to find agents that seem right for you and obtaining work for you.
2. Read their instructions. Agents differ in how they like to be approached. Thoroughly read and understand their instructions, or risk being ignored.
3. Avoid this urge to submit via social media. Social media is great for networking, and you may want to blah, 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 because it scrolled forward for some reason, but a submission or plea via social media is often considered unprofessional.
4. Highlight your experience and training. Especially if you're new to voiceover, your cover letter should highlight related experience, like performing on stage, acting classes, and working with a voiceover coach. Good luck. You can read more in this article now at voiceoverxtra.com. Plus, lots more advice about approaching agents. See it all at VoiceOver Xtra, your daily resource for voiceover success. Our buddy Rick Lance.
Yeah, man.
The voice of Americana.
He's been a Facebook friend for a long time. I'm not even sure if I've gotten to meet him in real life yet.
Oh, I've met him a couple of times.
Have you?
Yeah.
Where have you met him? Like at WovoCon?
No, met him at the first, the first voice conference in 2007.
Oh my gosh. That's the one with Don LaFontaine.
Right.
That's the one I'll always remember because I wasn't there.
Right. And I have the picture with Don LaFontaine. Yes, and then I met him again in Nashville when we had a Wovo Minicon there last year. And,
Very cool.
But I talk with him. We talk all the time. So, but
Very
he
nice.
knows the business and he knows how to market himself. So
That's fantastic.
what's new in tech?
Well, if you've been living under a rock, because apparently this stuff's been hitting the national news, but if you've got an iPhone 6, iPhone 6S, an iPhone SE, you definitely want to pay attention to this. This is for those of, and a lot of you use iPhones, I know that. You definitely want to consider replacing your battery in your phone. That used to be an insane idea. You wouldn't think of it because the cost was really prohibitive. I think it was around $99 to put a new battery in your iPhone. So a lot of you, by the time that battery was going bad, were probably thinking about upgrading anyway. Well, what's come to light recently is that Apple actually slows down the device. It slows down the performance of the iPhone to prevent it from crashing.
It's doing it.
It's doing it.
Not performing quite the way it should.
Yeah, so what they do is they slow down the performance of the phone to prevent it from crashing. And it's sound logic. I mean, it makes sense that they're doing it. The thing was that they started doing it, and they've been doing it without telling anybody.
Yeah.
Kind of sneaky, a little underhanded.
What's going on?
So to make amends, what they've offered to do is replace your battery for way less money. So for $29, you can get your battery replaced in your iPhone 6, 6 Plus, or no, 6S, any of the 6s and the SE, you can get the battery replaced. I think they're doing it in the 7s too. But if the battery is more than, I think if it has 80% or less of its life left, something like that, they will replace the battery. I don't know what the actual criteria is, but bottom line is if you're in any doubt whatsoever, go online, go to their website, and order a battery replacement because it's a no-brainer for $29.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these patches, and then of course they make you update stuff when you're not looking.
They're sneaky with the updates.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that they've been able to get away with that. And I love Apple. I mean, I love the stuff that they do. Their products are great. But sometimes there's some young kid gets in there in that department. Oh yeah.
You wonder,
and often happens.
You wonder if Steve Jobs was alive would that have happened.
That's right.
But so yeah, get your phone battery replaced, and it will improve its performance and of course its battery life at the same time. And you'll get at least another year or two probably out of that iPhone 6 or 6S that's collecting dust, or maybe in your pocket right now.
That's right.
So
in my pocket, it plays music, does all that
definitely
stuff.
Check that out. In terms of what else is going on in tech, I've been keeping my eyes peeled on CES. CES is going on right now in Las Vegas.
The Consumer Electronics Show.
Yeah. And CES is a big party when it comes to anything in the world of tech, like virtual reality, augmented reality, on and on, all that kind of stuff. I haven't seen anything like really jump out at me. I was reading the news from The Verge today, and The Verge did say that you should check out, and I was hoping I'd still have that browser open on my phone because I was just reading it earlier.
A tab not open on your phone?
There it is.
Okay,
I found
amazing.
it. What I did find from The Verge that seemed somewhat relevant to us in our world is it went off the bottom of the screen. Just give me just a second and I'll find it. Here we go. Oh, you know what? This is a live feed. So what they're doing is they're constantly adding new stuff at the top.
Wow.
So I've lost my news story.
Okay.
But if you want to know what the heck's going on over at CES, I think one of the best places to see what's happening is at The Verge, their website. The Verge is an incredibly good tech blog, and they are literally live blogging or doing a live news update of everything going on at CES. So if you have any interest in tech at all, they do mention things like headphones. Mm-hmm. They're talking about Sony's new headphones, Sennheiser's new headphones, things that do have some relevance for you guys. But keep your eyes peeled over there for stuff that might interest you geeks out there like myself.
All righty. Well, coming up, we're going to talk about acoustics. And we got a couple of interesting questions sort of related to that.
Very cool.
So stay tuned for that, and we'll be right back here on VoiceOver Body Shop. So don't go away. Hey there. Will 2018 be the year you take your voiceover practice to the next level? If not, you can go back to checking your email while this message is airing. I think there might also be some leftover Chinese in the fridge. But if you're serious about dramatically upping your level of success, I want you to go to a special URL, vo2gogo.com/VOBS. That's vo2gogo.com/VOBS. Join the hundreds of VO practitioners around the world who have decided to do something positive and invest in themselves for this new year. Learn voiceover from the ground up, or from where you are to where you want to be. vo2gogo.com/VOBS. Let's make 2018 your year.
As a voice talent, you have to have a website. But what a hassle getting someone to do it for you. And when they finally do, they break or don't look right on mobile devices. They're not built for marketing and SEO. They're expensive. You have limited or no control. And it takes forever to get one built and go live. So what's the best way to get you online in no time? Go to voiceactorwebsites.com. Like our name implies, voiceactorwebsites.com just does websites for voice actors. We believe in creating fast, mobile-friendly, responsive, highly functional designs that are easy to read and easy to use. You have full control. No need to hire someone every time you want to make a change. And our upfront pricing means you know exactly what your costs are ahead of time. You can get your voiceover website going for as little as $700. So if you want your voice actor website without the hassle of complexity and dealing with too many options, go to voiceactorwebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
Have a cheese sandwich. Yep, this is VOBS, proving anybody can have a show these days. Wow, this is VOBS?
You're listening to VOBS.
Are we at minus 4 dB? We're at minus 4 dB on VOBS.
And we are back here on VoiceOver Body Shop. George and I, we spend the majority of our days helping you guys. I get voiceover work. I'm busy with that. But we both are there to help you with your home voiceover studio. Mm-hmm. And we love having your questions here on the show, but we also like working with you professionally. If you need a little bit more help, what can you do for them?
Yes. Well, I can help you in a lot of different ways. You can just do a good old-fashioned mano-a-mano call on the phone with me. We can do a Skype, Zoom, whatever you like, and that can be done on my website at georgethetech.com. You can book that right there. It's all automated for you. And I've got all sorts of other flat rate services too. So If you need to have an audio processing preset made, figure out what mic's best for you with a mic check, all that stuff's available over there.
Great. And if you want to talk to me, all you got to do is go to homevoiceoverstudio.com. And I've got, I like to listen to people's audio. And I've got my specimen collection cup right there on the homepage. Click on that. It's a Dropbox. Send me some audio. There's some instructions on how to do it. And I'll give you a very honest appraisal of your audio. I won't charge you for that. But if you need some big-time help, now we're talking, is
Dan's got free stuff.
Yeah, that's right. What are you going to do? Anyway, so we're here to help and make sure that you take advantage of us, because there's probably only a handful of people on the face of this planet that understand the unique environment that is a home voiceover studio.
And we know all of them, and we've all learned from each other.
Right.
At this point, we've absorbed all of that information. And so when you hire us, you're going to get like a direct feed of what you need quickly.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
Yes. And speaking of absorption,
Yeah.
we want to talk a little bit about acoustics. Now, a couple of years ago, we were at NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters convention in Vegas. Very big convention.
It's as big as CES, I think, in terms of physical size.
Well, it's at the same place, isn't it?
It's the same hall, same
all right,
building.
yeah. Anyway, you presented a paper there on small booth acoustics.
Yeah, that's right.
And acoustics, we believe, is probably the primary qualitative factor in a home voiceover studio. You can't do it in your bathroom. It's just not going to work.
Not unless you treat the heck out of it and make it into a studio.
Right. Well, let's talk about how you treat a room.
Where do you start?
Okay. Where do I start? I get into the middle of a room and I start talking and I listen to see where the echoes are coming from and if it's sound tight. I think we really need to start the discussion off at discussing the difference between sound proofing and sound absorption.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, sound proofing is preventing the transmission of sound through walls and stuff like that, and entering the space in which you're recording and getting onto your microphone.
Yeah. That is, if you're online looking for information about acoustics and you see a product called soundproof foam,
No such thing.
they probably don't know what they're talking about, because foam is about absorption, not soundproofing. Soundproofing requires a little bit of money.
And mass.
Yes.
And heavy stuff.
That's where you got to pull out the wallet or get a credit line, because you're talking about buying a booth of some sort, or building, construction, building walls, adding layers to the walls you currently have, that kind of stuff. That's what we're talking about when we're talking soundproofing. That's not what we're going to talk about right now, though.
No, we're going to talk about absorption.
Right.
And absorption is, the fact is here in my booth, because this is also my booth here. Where I do
we're
all my
literally in the space where Dan records his VO stuff.
Yeah. What we have in here is acoustic treatment. If you walk from outside of the studio and into the booth, you notice it. It's like dead as dead can be. The sound, there's no place for sound to bounce off the walls. It hits the material that's on the walls and gets sucked up into
the walls. You don't see it in our shot because, of course, we're using a green screen to give you this fun backdrop. But what's going on is there's a layer. It was so convincing. There's a layer of green cloth, but it's over top of an acoustical absorbing layer, and that is what's taking away the reverberation of what would be happening around us that the microphone would normally be hearing.
Yeah. Now, what normally happens is people, the best studio is one probably with uneven walls, like 5 walls. So there aren't any parallel walls.
No parallel walls.
And which, by the way, this room has 5 unparalleled walls. But if you're in a square room,
that's hard to achieve. You're not going to find
unless you're going to build it or buy it.
Unless you're going to build it or buy it, you're not going to have that scenario.
So most people are there are a lot of 90-degree rectangular-ish square rooms,
sometimes
with high ceilings. Yeah. We go through people's houses and we sniff around. What's the best place to put your studios? Usually a good closet, a walk-in closet, with lots of clothes in it, that's going to save you a couple of grand right there.
Yeah, if you got a walk-in closet, especially if you have an interior closet that is off the street, doesn't share a common wall with any part of the outside of the house, those are really, really great because you get the advantage of the whole house around you, creating a dead zone or soundproofing that room.
Right.
So then you just have to worry about making it sound studio-like.
Right.
So why walk-in closet?
Because there's clothes hanging in there.
Bingo.
And clothes are sound absorbers.
Yeah, they
probably
absorb
the best
really well.
sound absorbers there are.
Really well, amazingly well.
Right. And if you put your mic in the right place, you're going to sound as good as anybody else. And and I tell people this all the time. I know a lot of people making a lot of money next to their underwear and their pants and all these things hanging up there.
Legitimately. I mean, I had a client in New York years ago who was cutting into the world of promo. He was with an agent and everything, and his studio was a 416 mic, and he would just part some clothing in his closet and put the mic right in there.
It works great.
And speak into that. And that was his booth for some time. I don't know if he ever even changed it, to be honest.
So if you have questions on acoustics, give us a buzz or write to us at theguys at VOBS, and we can explain some very specific things. But now we got a couple of questions.
Oh, we have some other stuff that's coming in? Let's take a look.
Let's see here. Oh, we do have a question from Fred North.
Oh, right on.
Fred, all right. Says, I'm trying to squeeze every last bit of quality out of my booth. The noise floor is minus 66 dB. 2 great mics and an Audent preamp. Do new mic cords really make any real difference?
Only if the old ones weren't working very well. That would be my first, maybe, I don't mean to be a wise ass, but I mean, if what you already have is working well and the signal is clean, free of buzz and hum, sorry, I'm multitasking here, then you probably aren't going to notice any audible difference with new cables. I tend to look at new cables when there are problems, and problems like buzzes, hums, RFI, which is you're picking up the radio station down the street, that kind of stuff. That's when I start looking into buying.
That's a bad wire.
That's a bad cable, a bad connector,
bad connector, and that usually when you're getting background interference like that, that's electrical. It's bad cables.
Yeah, almost always. And the biggest weak point in a mic cable is the connector. That's most of the time where it's going to fail. Because
that's where there's all the action going on.
Right. There's contacts in there and solder joints that aren't always done very well. Sometimes there's it's called a cold solder joint. Whatever the case, that is a cheap fix. And don't spend $60, $80 on a mic cable. You really don't. $40, $50 tops for like a Mogami silver or something like that.
Right. And they last, if they don't move much, they last a long time.
So. True. Yeah. I mean, your cables aren't they're not under a lot of abuse because you're not touring with your cables. So actually, there's several questions in here. There's another one from
Jim Edgar. That's an interesting question.
Oh, yeah.
Says, once you get the space together, which do you prefer to find resonant frequencies? Sending a tone into the space or sweeping a narrow filter to the recording?
Okay, we're getting geeky now. But
very geeky.
But Jim is a geek. He's a fellow geek. So he's on the same page.
All right, so what is he talking about here?
Find resonant sequence or sending a tone.
Doing a sweep.
Or sweeping narrow filter to the recording. Well, I usually do the latter, mainly because I'm rarely in the actual space that I'm getting to analyze. So somebody's sending me their audio, and then what I'm doing is what he's saying is I take an equalizer, a parametric equalizer, I boost a frequency, and then I move that frequency back and forth until I find frequencies that really seem to jump out in my face. And that's what I tend to do. If I'm lucky enough to be in the actual physical space, then maybe I might play back some tones or some white noise. I don't do that often. It's so rare I get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'm in a lot of people's closets.
Yeah,
and in booths and stuff, and I just use my ears.
Yeah,
they may be old, but they're still hearing.
90% of the time, just use my ears.
Because they're small spaces, you can hear where the reflections are. If you got a lot of 90-degree angles, as we were talking about absorption, bass traps in those areas where you've got 90-degree angles, because you've got 1, 2, there's 6 of them.
Yeah.
And sound goes in there and the bass frequencies build up and it sounds boomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you put a bass trap in there, man, it just sucks it all up.
Space traps are gold. Those are acoustic panels that are very heavy and thick. Sometimes they're triangular shaped and they go into corners, and they do a fantastic job of controlling low end.
All right.
This one's from Carrie Woodrow.
Yeah.
Should I read this one?
Go ahead.
All right. I moved and had to leave my studio behind.
Oh, well.
My place is small with no place for a studio. Oh. So I need to build one separate to the home. Wow. Okay. Do you have any suggestions what I might use as a structure? And what is the best size and material to build the recording booth?
Now you've built these things in people's backyards.
That is like, I'm thinking of getting a house. Do you have any ideas about what I should build? That's a pretty big question.
Yeah.
Carrie.
That's a tall order.
That's a tall order. I mean, I honestly, people consult with me on stuff just like that. I did a studio for Allison Packard a year ago, and it was pouring a slab and building a building right on the slab. Pretty rare we get to do that, but in that case, we had to do it. It is quite an undertaking because normally when you build a booth inside your existing home, an apartment, a house, or whatever, you already have a house or an apartment, creating a lot of isolation from the outside.
Right.
So you just have to build something on the inside that takes that last 20-30% of sound that gets through away.
Right. I mean, she could probably do it in her bedroom.
Right.
And save herself thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right. I think Carrie in this case, is Carrie a man or woman? I can't remember. I think Carrie, the name's familiar, Facebook or something. Anyway, we should get their pictures with them.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, if you're building it freestanding outside the house, though, you have to now build something that's soundproof enough that it will stop all that noise
Planes,
from coming in from
helicopters, school buses, garbage trucks.
Major undertaking.
Yeah.
You have to build everything double walls, tremendous amount of insulation, thick walls, big air gaps between the outside and the inside.
Yeah.
It's a big project, and it's going to be quite costly.
Yeah.
For something even small, like 10 by 12 feet, you might be prepared to spend anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000 on that little space.
So that answers your question right there. Unless you're making like $10,000 every time you key up that mic,
or you happen to be a contractor and you're going to do the work yourself.
Right.
But it's a pricey endeavor.
All right.
Dude, more questions.
All right. This is my studio is a pentagon-ish shape. I wish I could send a photo. No, new build out, noise floor minus 55 to minus 65, depends on when the furnace is running. Mm-hmm. Turn it off. Or as I used to tell my wife when I would turn the furnace off when I was recording, when I had the studio in the basement, look, I'm making money and I'm saving money at the same time.
Hopefully you're making more than you're saving.
Yes. Presently, I use 12 by 12 tiles. They were very cost effective. Do you think upgrading the acoustic treatment would be worth it? Well, we got to hear it.
Yeah. It looks like you're talking about soundproofing, and then in the same sentence or the next sentence, you're talking about acoustics.
Right. Not the
12
same
by 2
thing.
Yeah, 12 by 12 tiles are absorbing devices. They are sucking up sound, and you're trying to stop noise from things like the furnace. The furnace is going to be one of the hardest things to stop because it's low frequency. That rumbly sound penetrates everything.
Turn it off.
Turn it off.
Remember to turn it back on.
Yeah, or use a high pass filter when you record to take the rumbly stuff out of the microphone, because the mic hears stuff you don't need to record. There's nothing in your voice below 60, 70 hertz. It's nothing down there. So that's another way to deal with that very cheaply. But the foam or whatever material that 12 by 12 is just acoustic absorption. It's not going to help the furnace issue. Not at all.
Bill Lord.
Sweet, one more.
Rhymes with Orange Studio.
We happen to know Bill.
Yes. Good to see you. It's been a while. Can you talk about how lively a recording environment should be versus how quiet it should be? Well, that's a matter of personal taste.
Yeah.
And we know Bo Weaver says a lot about this kind of stuff.
He's into the diffusion thing.
Right. He's got a brick wall behind him.
Yeah.
He's got all sorts of different materials and different, probably adjust the mic for different types of reeds and stuff. It shouldn't be dead. It shouldn't suck the life out of your voice.
Completely dead.
Completely dead. This room's a little dead, but it because it's got a little bit of dimension to it.
You never have to worry about mistakenly building something called an anechoic chamber.
Right. Good
Google
luck.
it. Look up what an anechoic chamber is. It is a space devoid of any acoustical properties. That is too dead.
Right.
That is so dead that when you speak, the sound of your voice disappears into space, and it's the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah.
You're not worried about building something that dead. But if it's so dead that it absorbs all the wrong frequencies, or it's only absorbing high end and not low end or whatever, that's not going to sound so great.
Right.
So a little bit of liveliness can work well. It just doesn't work very well in a really small booth.
Right. No, it's very hard to do.
Like a 4x4 room, a booth, liveliness in a room that small is probably not going to be an asset to you.
Right. And how quiet should it be? We usually say a noise floor underneath minus 55 dB.
Open up your mic kit, record, walk out of the room, record 30 seconds, walk back in. What does it meter at during that room tone? If it's under minus 55, you're doing really pretty good.
Absolutely.
You're doing really good, yeah.
All righty. Well, Dave Walsh has been sitting patiently by, and we have some fun stuff to do with him.
But we had a phalanx of awesome questions.
Yeah, we like questions.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That's what's most important to our show here. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back, and we'll be there with Dave Walsh talking about the TrueTell technique.
Are you confused about how to set up and maintain a professional quality voiceover studio? No wonder. The information out there is mostly mythology. This is the best microphone to use. You'll have to have a preamp. You need a soundproof booth. This software is the best. Your audio must be broadcast quality. Consult with someone who knows the truth, someone who's been there, in the trenches, doing voiceover for over 30 years. Someone with unparalleled experience with voiceover studios, who's worked with hundreds of voice actors and designed hundreds of personal studios. He knows how to teach and cares about your success. In one of the harshest environments known to voiceover, your home. Dan Lenard, the home studio master. Separate myth from fact and get a handle on your personal voiceover studio. Contact the home studio master at homevoiceoverstudio.com. Drop off a specimen of your dry audio for a free analysis.
Hi, this is Bill Farmer, and you are watching Voice Over Body Shop. It's great.
Thanks for joining us once again for another episode of Voice Over Body Shop.
VOBS is still on? Seriously?
This is John Bailey, the Epic Voice, and you're watching VOBS.TV, Monday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 Newfoundland.
Hey guys, this is Tom, also known as the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants, and you want to fill your ear holes and your eye holes with Dan and George and the Audio Body Shop. Ah! Meow! Snails like it too.
Before time began, there was VOBS.TV. Watch or else.
You're still watching VOBS?
Alrighty, we're back. You know, TrueTell founder Dave Walsh has enjoyed a truly multifaceted career on both sides of the glass here in Hollywood. As a successful voice artist, coach, and director, as well as a studio executive. Dave's been a key national and international voiceover talent for almost 20 years, fronting signature campaigns for commercial and television for the big networks. He's also spent the better part of the last decade coaching other voice actors. He believes his TrueTell is the key to building greater fluidity and trust in business practices, as well as individual confidence, better performance, and overall success. And so let's welcome to Voice Over Body Shop, the one and only Dave Walsh.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
How are ya? Thank you, studio audience.
Yes.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
See you guys again.
Yeah, we've changed things a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
You know, the lighting's better, the sound is better.
The chairs are comfy.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
I like that.
Yeah. Anyway,
Happy New Year, by the way.
Oh, and Happy New Year to you. So,
and congratulations on 300 shows.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. It's wonderful.
It went by really fast.
I'm sure it did.
No, it didn't. It seems like it seems like it's been almost 7 years. But anyway, now you're celebrating your 10th year as a coach.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so what are you doing to celebrate?
It's it's marking the calendar off and trying to kind of just kind of take it in and just kind of, it sounds ridiculous, but kind of reflecting on what the 10 years have been like, and just kind of how the TrueTell method, which you mentioned before, just kind of how that kind of evolved and how voiceover itself has changed so dramatically in 10 years. We didn't have 10 years ago. We didn't have you guys. We didn't have, this kind of place to be able to disseminate the information. So people like yourselves, people like Chuck and Stacy for VO Buzz Weekly, you guys are becoming such an industry think tank for us all, where we have an opportunity for people like myself to come and to be able to talk about the industry, how it's changing, what you and George talk about every week. That kind of thing is really evolved the business. And I think that when I first started coaching, I really looked at it and tried to figure out what was it that I brought to the table that was different than some of the great coaches we have in our industry. Not wanting to duplicate what they do and do something unique, which we all try to do. At the time, I was going through an incredibly difficult struggle with a vocal problem, which had manifested itself because of using my voice basically improperly in promos and trailers and narration and commercial. I mean, and I had the career was burgeoning. It was a wonderful career, and I was incredibly blessed. But what was happening was I was losing my voice, and I could not figure out why. So over a period of time, working with different speech pathologists, etc., I discovered that I was simply using my voice incorrectly. I was told I had an incurable neurological disorder. And basically, doctors. And so I didn't know what I was going to do with that. And basically, I painted the windows black and thought my career was over. And after working with this particular doctor in Brentwood out here in Los Angeles for about 4 years, working with people all over the world who had the same problem, I realized people were using a voice that was inauthentic, that it was what they thought their voice was supposed to be.
I find that almost constantly. People sending us somebody sent me a demo today, and it was like, he did a promo voice through commercials and through narrations, a spot that's actually on my demo reel.
Which we're going to get to later, talking about demos themselves.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. So it was like, well, how does it sound? Well, it's a little forced.
Yeah, a little.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I could play it for you. I'll play it for you later.
Some other time.
Yeah, it's like your eyes will bulge. It's like the American Idol auditions. People think they can sing,
right?
And some people think they can do voiceover, and they get a script in front of them, and suddenly, they could be talking and normally as anything. Second, they start reading something changes.
Right. It becomes what's called the vocal identity, is that they do what they think, and we've all been victims of this. I mean, I've been the same way. So
perpetrators too.
Heck yeah. God knows I've been as guilty as this as the next guy. Of doing what we think that the buyers want, what the agents want, what the producers want, casting directors, etc. We tend to, when we're not sure of the story we're telling, we push the read because we think that the sound of what we do is going to cover and mask the fact that we don't really understand what we're talking about. We have an idea of what it is, but there's a difference between knowing what you're talking about and why the heck you're actually telling the story. Because the whole basis of the TrueTell is, and it's based in, in certain acting techniques, but it's really based in the basic rules of everyday communication. You and I, George, anyone would never tell a story if you didn't know what you were talking about, who you were telling that story to, and why you were telling that story. You would never do that. But the second you walk in the booth, like you said, when you get the piece of copy, I say, for lack of a better term, people go stupid. That all of a sudden we're telling a story that we have no idea why we're telling it, who we're telling it to. We'd never do that in real life. So when you walk out of the booth, there are times where you may have an audition where you have that pull in the solar plexus. This is where where your truth actually lies, is that you feel that tension, you feel that pull in the stomach. That's coming from the fact that you're telling a story completely unauthentically. So the whole basis of the TrueTell is, particularly for people with home studios, where you don't have the luxury that we did 10, 15 years ago, where almost all of your auditions were directed by booth directors, etc. You very rarely would do an audition without a director 15 years ago. Now, so much of it is done home studio directed, where you literally are being directed by the ether. There's nothing else but you in that room.
And your imagination.
And it's your imagination.
Right.
So you don't have someone saying to you, it's authentic, it's not authentic, it's pushed, it's natural, it's conversational. You don't know. So this is about going with your gut that you use for the other 23 hours of the day that you walk and sleep the planet. In that hour, you're in the booth. In those 2 hours, you're in the booth. In the 15 minutes, you're in the booth. Trust your own instinct with a story that's true. But it's getting everybody back to that square one of what the heck is the story you're telling? Who are you telling it to? And do you believe the story? And why are you telling it?
Right.
So, and it sounds very basic, but like you said, these are common Achilles heels. These are common habits we have when we walk in the booth. And you can hear it. Your voice will always rat you out.
Right.
You may think you're getting away with it. It's like bad karaoke. When you actually go into people think the tone deaf people literally will hold a microphone and will scream into it, thinking that the louder they get, the better they sing. It's the same thing with voiceover. The more I push the read or the faster I read the copy, if I can hide in the copy and go through it quickly, you'll never know I can't tell the story. We know in 2 seconds.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
And everybody's always saying, how do I get into this? How do I do it? It's like, you got to practice. You got to know what you're doing. You have talent. But I'm finding, we could talk a little bit about how trends have changed.
Yeah.
I find, since coming out here to LA, the people I meet who are successful in this business are not hypey people. They are the most relaxed, easygoing, friendly, and they take that with them in the booth. And they're able to, they just easily relate. And that's why they're the ones making all the big bucks and everybody else is pounding on the door.
Right. Well, I think that when you find your way into the natural rhythm of your brand, I'll call it, that the pros, when the pros step into the booth, when we've all been in that situation where we've stepped into the booth, it's knowing who you are in the work. Celebrities do that all the time. Celebrities will walk into rooms, will walk into parts because they walk around. Maurice Tobias, one of the greatest coaches that there is, Maurice Tobias always has said that celebrities walk around in an iconic state all day, every day. So when they show up in front of a camera, they show up in front of a microphone, they're walking into that as themselves, as that brand. And so that trickles down to day players, contract players, anyone that's working in front of a camera or behind a microphone or on a stage. It is all that. So the pros walking in, making it look easy, like you said, it took those months, those years of training, that it is about understanding the story you're telling, because every buyer who hears your read, it's never been more important to know what they know about the show, the product, the narration, the trailer, the animated show, whatever it is. It has never been more important and more of a responsibility for us as performers to know, because that's respecting the material, it's respecting the story, it's respecting the buyer.
Right.
Because if I'm a writer and I can tell you didn't hit the nuance of a wink in a commercial that you didn't understand, I can hear in 2 seconds when someone doesn't know a show, know a network, know a product. I said, you know something? That's nothing but disrespecting the creator, because they spent the time to find the wink, to find the story. It doesn't take us that long to do research online. You can find anything on Google or on any website. So you can tell I'm a little passionate about that.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
So
as we were saying, you've been coaching for 10 years.
Yeah.
How have you seen the trends change over that time? And I mean, I've been doing this. I've been in voiceover for, since the Ford administration. So it's, I've seen everything change, but I'd like to hear what your perspective and what, now it's the conversational read.
Right. But the conversational read has been around for a while. We've been using that word consistently. And I think that term has been thrown around so much that there's a difference between this conversation that we're having. And sometimes there is voiceover conversational versus regular conversational. There's an agent at one time had said to me that a buyer came to him and said they want it so real. He said, I'm willing to take someone off the street and put them in front of a microphone. That's what the buyer actually wanted to believe. But the truth is, that's really, when push came to shove, that's really not what they wanted.
Right.
So the conversational read has evolved over time. In promo, we started to, over the last 10 years, we were pulling back to more of that conversational. They didn't want it as big. They didn't want it as pushed. However, in the last year, or in the last 2 years, several networks, particularly ABC, a little bit of CBS, but mostly ABC, has really been pushing, and Fox have been pushing a little bit, but the bigger voices are coming back somewhat.
Yes.
Definitely coming back a bit more. The news networks, particularly CNN, I've said this to several people, that the whole shift in politics over the last year and a half has made the news networks polarize themselves a lot more. CNN used to be very much Switzerland in the middle. MSNBC used to be very left, and Fox News was very right. CNN, since they got attacked, basically have become extremely left, and MSNBC has found itself moving more towards the middle. So CNN's reads have become much more gravitas. They become much bigger and darker. They become had much more punch to them. The reason I bring this up is it's things like that where not only do coaches like myself look at the trends, it's up to the performer to also do that research, to look at the changes in the trends, look at the changes in commercial. Younger voices have been massively important, but there's also, I have a lot of performers that are clients in their 40s and 50s that also have a kind of a resurgence in their careers too. That a lot of times I've heard from agents, they want 20s and 30s. They want nothing older than 30. But the truth is, some of what's booking is older than 30.
Somebody's got to sound like Dad.
Absolutely. Right, but I think they're talking specifically about campaign voices.
Right.
But at the same time, there is more opportunity. The pendulum is swinging slightly more towards slightly older voices, and also, like I said, particularly in promo, the heavier voices are becoming more in trend again, which I think is really encouraging for guys and gals in that world.
I keep hoping. Sometimes I'll see.
I keep hoping.
Yeah, when I see specs that say senior citizen 60 to whatever, I'm like, I am not a senior citizen.
No,
it's not. They're kids. They don't see.
But the other thing,
we just look old to them, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. I say this to people that like myself, like us, have been around for a while. Is that what you realize is your voice becomes. It may become more of a specialty voice. It may not be. It won't be that 35 to 40 broad voice that is it, or 25 to 40 voice that's that broad appeal. It will become more of a specialized voice at 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, whatever. It's up to us to figure out how to market that specialty voice and be okay with the fact that it becomes a specialty voice versus it being that broad voice that people wanted at 30 and 40 and 45, etc.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does,
yeah.
Actually. Hey, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Dave Walsh, who is a voiceover coach. And if you've got a question for him, throw it in the chat room, because the one and only Jack Daniel will sit there and he will relay those questions to us. And one of the things we want to do is we'll probably do this in the next segment. We've got a couple of scripts here, which I have color-coded, by the way, with paper clips.
You're very efficient.
Yes. And we're going to go over those, and you're going to tell us, direct us through your TrueTell method and really get a feel for that.
That'd be great. I love it.
The voice actor of 2018, crossed that bridge, finally got through the holidays. Got away from all the cookies. And
wish I could say the same, but
yeah, it's man. But what should a voice actor in 2018 really be like?
I think that the voice actor of 2018 has a combination of it. The word entrepreneur really is part of that, and part of that is having an agent represented career. and having an entrepreneurial aspect to your career. And that includes both union and non-union. It's not just SAG-AFTRA. It's both people that are working both sides of the fence, so to speak.
And it's not just commercial, because commercial
No.
is just a little tiny piece of the entire voiceover world.
Well, and what's been true is that commercials have been the bread and butter of what agencies have kept their lights on using for a long time. There are agencies in LA and New York who have an incredible promo and narration and trailer division, as well as affiliate, that a lot of their bread and butter, they have a huge promo, that huge part of their business is very lucrative. But commercial has been, with residuals, with SAG-AFTRA residuals, have been a large revenue generator for the agencies, as has animation, obviously. But again, that's a polarizing of mostly LA agencies. But the world now is shifting and changing so fast that with the shifting and changing with Voices.com, the acquisition of VoiceBank, how that's shifting and changing, and how agencies and producers are responding, and talent, how that world is changing. It's never been more important for the actor to be on top of their career. I can't stress it enough that it isn't just your agent's responsibility, or if you're looking to seek an agent, it's not the agent's responsibility to run your career. Your career is your career to run. Your agents are part of your team.
They're part of your marketing toolkit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your toolkit being your website, being social media, being your demo, being your representatives, whatever it is. And you yourself having your own marketing, your marketing team, because in the end, it is your career and it's your life. I think in years past, it's really been letting your agents do most of the work. We had this, we called it Camelot. That I was at CESD in Los Angeles and New York in the 90s and in the 2000s. And at that period of time in the 90s and 2000s, the competition was just sweet. It was the most, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s were so sweet. We called it Camelot. Mm-hmm. Work was plentiful. Demos, you booked your work completely off your demos. It was an amazing time. But the world has changed so much with with the changes in technology, like you guys obviously talk about every week. It's changed priorities. It's changed what people do, and what performers, what opportunities people have. Challenges, but a huge amount of opportunity.
Yeah. How has coaching changed in the last 10 years?
Well, all of us, I'm speaking collectively, obviously no one else is here, but from my perspective, we have to be on our game more. I think that we have to be had to have been aware of the changes in union and non-union and right-to-work states, what's happening with companies like Bidalgo, companies like Pandora, what that's done to the commercial industry and how that is changing the industry, how regional agencies have become huge, whether it's Atlanta or DC or Salt Lake or St. Louis, run the gamut, or Dallas, how those regional agencies have become a huge part of people's work, and how talent in the big cities have shifted to the smaller and have picked up regional agents as well. So from a coach's perspective, it's important for all of us to kind of understand how that comes into play, and how a regional read is different from the national read, but how all of it, people are vying in the regional markets also for national commercials as well, and national narration and promo. So it's, bottom line is, it's needing to be on top of and looking down over the industry as opposed to being meshed inside of it.
Right.
Because if we sit in the middle of it, you really can't see above it to see what's ahead.
Right.
So from my perspective, I can speak for myself that's really what I think. That's been the challenge for us.
It seems that everybody is now a voiceover coach. At least you see it here in LA, but I'm clearly it's going on out in the outside world as well. The outside world, the rest of the country, you guys. But it's a lot of people who weren't, you were saying it was Camelot. Suddenly the dam burst and the work was far more competitive, and people are having a little trouble paying their rent in Beverly Hills. So it's, a lot of them have turned to coaching. Right. I've always believed that, if you're going to coach, having the knowledge isn't the same as being able to transfer the knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, just having a name and a reputation is not enough to say, well, I want to be a voiceover coach.
Right. Well, I think that other talent that have become coaches. Some of them are amazing. But one of the things, I had a talent who's a friend who's a really very successful voice actor, was talking about coaching as well, and asked me for some advice. And I said, if you don't have patience, don't coach. And I will say that to anybody that's looking to coach. If you do not have the patience to work with performers and understand as actors, and let's just put it on the table. Actors are incredibly vulnerable people. We are very raw, and that's what makes us do what we do. In that, it's also making sure that, do you have the patience to take the performer to their peaks and through their valleys? Do you have the ability to really stay with them and to nurture them and to not handhold them? But I've had this in myself where it's really important. My investment in my talent is, meaning my clients, is for the long haul. It's really making sure we get them through the rough times and really celebrate the good times with them. And it's not simply about just coaching a piece of copy. It's really about nurturing their career and helping them either to, are they shifting agents? Are they having difficulties with their career? What are the roadblocks? And there's an emotional price tag to that too, for all of us as performers. So I think that that's as much of an important part of coaching as the actual creative technique itself.
That's good to hear.
Does that make sense?
It makes tremendous sense.
Yeah.
Having a master's in education, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So yeah, and I come from a family of teachers, so that's kind of in the blood.
If you can, coaching should be teaching. It shouldn't be directing. There's a lot of people out there who are great directors, but are they transferring any knowledge about how to interpret a script?
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
yes, sir.
Why don't we take a look at one of these?
Okay. Do you want to look at the commercial or the narration?
Let's see here.
Not that I've seen the copy ahead of time.
No, not at all. Here, let's look at this commercial copy.
Okay.
Here's.
I think that's a good.
It even says announcer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Do you want to break before?
Yeah, we'll tell you what.
Give them a teaser here.
Yeah. You want to hear what this is like? Come back right after this on Voice Over Body Shop, and we'll have your questions as well.
Style. Power.
You're watching the home of the NFL.
The all-new iPhone.
Reserve your Disney World season pass now.
Through all the runny noses, 3 a.m. coughs.
An all-new American Crime Story, tonight on FX.
This week only, it's Pasta Fest at Olive Garden.
Heart rate, prime. Blood pressure, perfect.
I grew up with the classics, and now with StubHub, I can get authentic tickets to the best shows.
The all-new Chevy Cruze from $16,995.
Be inspired, then get the beauty that's uniquely yours at Sephora.
This week at Home Depot, it's our Garden Fest sale with up to 30% off all garden tools, sod, and seeds.
Hi, it's J. Michael Collins, and these are just a few examples of the first-class demos my team and I are producing. If you'd like to have something similar, visit jmcvoiceover.com and click on the Demo Production tab to find out more.
There's a razor blade right in the middle of that. And we're talking about voiceover coaching, and you talk about the TrueTell method.
Yeah.
And so we have a commercial here. This is, I think it's for Universal Orlando.
It is.
This was actually an audition that was actually on one of the sites this morning, so I figured make sure it's really fresh.
It's nice and fresh.
Yes.
But it's not that Mimeo we used to have as kids.
Right.
It doesn't have a smell anymore.
Now, they're not looking for an older voice like me to do this, but I could probably get away with it. What exactly do we... let me just read through it once.
Go ahead.
Yeah, how big is this year at Universal Orlando? So big it's got 15 months. Okay? At least for our annual pass holders. Buckle up for a new ride, Fast and Furious Supercharged. Splash into Universal's new Volcano Bay. Let loose at Mardi Gras every night. And that's just spring. So hurry, Florida residents. Get 3 months free on any annual pass with select Coca-Cola products. Come now and go big all year at Universal Orlando Resort.
Okay. So the first piece of this is, again, let's go back to what we were talking about. The TrueTell method is based in everyday conversations. So the first thing in the talking about, what is the story?
Universal Orlando.
Okay, so the second question I'd ask you is, first of all, who would you be talking to about it? First of all, let's go back.
Okay.
The TrueTell itself, let's make a definition for this, which I haven't done for the audience at all, is that your TrueTell is your 100% authentic opinion about what you're talking about. Okay? It's the no bullshit meter. It's literally full-on truth. Now, if I were to ask you what your TrueTell is about Universal Orlando, what is it?
I was there. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, that didn't answer my question.
Okay.
So you're 100. It was a lot of fun. Why was it a lot of fun?
Just lots of variety. It was exciting. There, characters wandering around all over the place. It was great for kids. It was a lot better than Disney.
Okay. Okay. So what we just heard right there, and you felt, that was the little. Should I say this? Absolutely. Right. Your truth is that it's a better resort than Disney.
Right.
Okay. For you.
Right.
So we know in that moment, is Dan Lenard the person to tell this story? Absolutely. So you've confirmed in your soul, a little woo-woo, we've confirmed in your soul that Universal is a better. How did it feel when you said that?
I didn't want to offend anybody, but it was something that was very true in my mind.
So when you're in your home studio and you're in your booth, you're sitting there, we're always afraid as human beings or as performers, I don't want to offend anyone. Tell the damn story.
Right.
That's true. And I get emphatic and I get passionate. To me, it's more about going, the truth of this is the client loves the fact that you love Universal.
Right.
It's your story to tell.
Right.
Okay. So, knowing that you love it, who would you tell the story to, and why?
Well, primarily Florida residents, since it's directed towards them specifically.
Okay.
But probably parents. It's certainly not geared to children because it's talking about, the passes, but also exciting stuff. Let loose at Mardi Gras every night. Not exactly a kid's thing.
Right. Universal's new Volcano Bay.
Right.
When were you at Universal last?
20 years ago.
Okay, so it's been a while. So it's been a while for you. Now, what about Universal Hollywood? When was the last time you were there?
Not last year.
Okay, so this is where I get excited. All right.
Okay, cool.
You haven't been to Universal Florida in 20 years.
Right.
So you really wouldn't be telling the story about Florida because you haven't been there in 20 years.
Right.
But you were at Universal Hollywood last year.
Right.
Harry Potter, blah, blah, blah. A lot going on there now as well. So the truth is, you're more likely to tell the story about Universal Hollywood than Florida.
Okay.
Now, what's your true tell about Universal Hollywood?
It's happening.
Okay. It's happening.
It's happening.
Do you feel the truth of that?
Yeah. It's a happening place.
Okay, so the buyer, Universal itself, is going to be like, I'm in. Because your soul just went, it's happening. Who better to tell the story than you? Now tell the story.
Okay. How big is this year at Universal Orlando? So big, it's got 15 months, at least for our annual pass holders. Buckle up for a new ride, fast and furious, supercharged. Splash into Universal's new Volcano Bay. Let loose at Mardi Gras every night. And that's just spring. So hurry, Florida residents, get 3 months free on any annual pass with select Coca-Cola products. Come now and go big all year at Universal Orlando Resort.
How did it feel to tell that story?
It sounded real.
Okay, it sounded real because the world we had created for the story was, first of all, getting clear about what the story was about, then understanding your true tell. But in your true tell, and this takes practice, is that really, really getting clear with yourself of how you feel about it. Universal Florida, you haven't been in 20 years. What most actors would do at that point is push through to try and make the 20-year history work now. It doesn't work. Wait a minute, I was at Universal Hollywood last year. Now, I don't expect you to do that the first time through, but once you start working with me, we start working in the TrueTell method, you start to figure out the bucket lists of things that work for you in your soul. What works for amusement parks, soft drinks, airlines, political candidates, television shows, which networks do I like, which shows do I like. How do I feel about certain morals and values and whatever in the world? What makes me tick? Those things instantaneously will start clicking once you start really focusing on them. But because we're so concerned about what the buyer is going to want, we kind of gloss over it. So when we just did this, we shifted everything to Universal Hollywood, and your soul went, it's happening. We're in.
Right.
Now, looking at the script, there's one line that I would say that made you go, what? And made you just kind of run through it when you hit it. What line was that? Take your time and looking at it. There's one line that the read kind of slid south because it took you by surprise.
Well, it was Buckle Up for a New Ride, Fast and Furious.
Further down.
Further down. And that's just spring. No?
It was the line. I'm sorry, I'll jump in. It was when you said Florida residents. When you got to the line, so hurry, Florida residents get 3 months free on an annual pass for select Coca-Cola products. Because the second you kind of went, wait, why am I saying Florida? I just said California. Wait, I just said Hollywood. It didn't make sense. So you slid through the line because your soul was doing this. Wait a minute. Just trying to rush through it, and the rest of it just went south.
Right.
In those two lines. But up to that point, we were locked in the read.
Right.
So, and that will happen. So if we went back to retract it, we would just retract those two lines. But for something that's that quick and down and dirty, this is really about working with what I call the soul muscle, is teaching the soul muscle how to tell a true story versus telling a story that's inauthentic.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Because in a home studio, would you say that you'd feel, how did it feel to tell the story that way, that you just told it?
Sounded exciting.
That wasn't my question.
Okay.
How did it feel?
It felt comfortable through most of it.
Okay, you felt more confident in it.
Yeah, I felt like, all right, I get this copy, and I was able to do it with a fair amount of confidence until we got to Florida.
That's okay. But that's the point, is that it's about walking out of the booth feeling good about what you just read. Because in any conversation you would have with anyone, we as human beings avoid confrontation at all costs. 95% of us will avoid confrontation for any particular reason.
Add some alcohol and that changes it a little
bit.
Yeah,
it totally changes it. But if you're going to tell a story that's not true, you know how it feels to tell a story that just feels like crap.
Right.
A lot of the times we'll walk in a booth and we will read a piece of copy over and over again because we think that will help tell the story. The truth is, repeating the story doesn't ground the story. It grinds the read into the ground.
Right.
That repetition over and over again gets you no closer to the truth than stepping back and really focusing on what is the story I'm telling. And you could do that probably in 2 to 3 takes instead of 15 takes of inauthenticity.
Right.
It's about the prep. The whole point of this too, Dan, is that the prep might take 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, but it's getting you towards 2 to 3 takes as opposed to 15. And one last thing about the perfectionist attitude about one-take wonders. You might get the read in 1 take, but that's not the goal. The goal is the true story. Right. If you get it in 1 take, awesome. You get it in 2 or 3, beautiful. 15, we got a problem.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, God knows, and I've done the same thing. So, when I tell these things, it's not about coming in as a know-it-all. It's having been doing exactly what we've all done for a long time.
Right.
And realizing how futile that can be sometimes. Now, one last thing about some people have said to me, well, when I work, I just do it. I just read it once and I do it. That's what I call booking by default. Because if you took all the scripts you read in a month that maybe are about this much, or all the scripts that are available in a day, okay? No human being on the planet can tell a story about every single thing there is in the world. There's certain stories some of us will tell, some that we can't. Actors that walk in and read a script once, twice, book the job, you've booked it by default because the subject matter immediately connects with you. You immediately connect to what it is. So walking in and reading it once over and reading it and booking it, yeah. But do you expect to do that every time? No. Because you couldn't, as one person, ever possibly tell every story there is to tell unless you actually took the time to figure out what it is you're talking about and really found a way to acclimate to it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Makes complete sense.
So Probably a little bit longer of an answer than you wanted, but
that's okay.
You know,
All right.
I chat a little bit.
Yeah, well, we do have some questions from our audience, and George, you've been sitting over there patiently.
Hi, George.
I will let you
Hey.
have the microphone.
All righty, let's ask a couple of questions here. I just got my camera working too, so
All
I
right,
can
even
use the
better.
camera. I think. Oh yeah, it's
There it
working.
is.
Yay! Actually, the first one's from right here in our audience. He's been patiently waiting.
Where is
Let's
he?
see if that mic is working.
There he
Rob,
is.
say hi, Rob.
Yes, identify yourself, sir.
Hi, my name is Rob Morocco.
Hey, go for it.
Yeah,
I love that name.
First, I want to say you guys are incredible. And I'm learning a lot. So, Dan, you're awesome, man.
Oh, thank
Love
you.
you. And Walsh from my hometown of Boston.
Reading
I still
boy.
hear a little accent in there.
It creeps in. It
Yeah,
does creep
I
in.
love it,
Don't
but
give me
I-
a cocktail.
No, my first question to you, which is probably off the VO subject, did you work really hard to mask your accent or like to lose it? Because as an actor, I did that for years and I finally just gave up on it and started just being me.
Yeah.
And I've had much more success.
Right. I think that it's it took a lot of training to do it after a period of time, and it does creep in. But the thing that's a joke is a lot of guys in town that are Bostonians, pardon me, we've auditioned for a Bostonian copy for years. And what happens a lot of times is that the advertising agencies that want a Bostonian accent are in St. Louis or Minneapolis or
Right.
Oklahoma City or in Dallas. And most of us go to, when we've ever gone to auditions, we all will sit in the room and go, we're never going to book this. Because the guy from New York will book it, the guy from D.C. will book it, because they think they know what a Bostonian accent sounds like, but they really don't.
Yeah.
So it is that thing where even with an authentic accent for your region, sometimes you have to mitigate that a bit because the buyer doesn't have the ear that your voice actually is that native tongue.
So it is kind of important per product, maybe, or
It
how
can
you
be.
would-
It
okay.
can be, but I think that for people that have accents from really regionalized places like New York or Boston or like the South, it does play into the read. So a period of time of actually working on your accent is important.
It's important.
It definitely is important.
Okay. If you don't mind a follow-up question. First of all, what really struck me is as an actor and a comedian, I notice when I tell stories that aren't authentic, or
Yeah.
I try to make up a funny story, or it's part true, never works on stage.
No.
Never
People pick it
works.
up in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
They
so
know.
that was awesome to hear. My real question here is, are demo reels still important?
Good question.
That's a really good question.
We ask that one all the time.
And I would say that for you, Rob, and for everybody else, that demos are still incredibly important as a marketing tool. I look at demos there's a couple of different ways to look at them. One is if you're looking for agency representation, it's your calling card, your foot in the door, that it is your business card that you're handing to agents and managers to listen to. But I can't stress this enough, that once you get your foot in the door, you better be able to recreate that read in the booth cold, because I have seen it happen countless times where I have warned talent that make sure that you have the read down before we actually approach an agent, and I've seen a couple of actors go in and crash and burn. And the agents have said to me flat out, didn't hit it in the booth, just wasn't there. And the demo was outstanding. Their performances in the booth, because your demo recording session, and every demo coach will attest to this, that it's like a laboratory. It's the perfect storm to create something. Mixing and matching and doing this kind of thing where we can actually balance you to make you sound amazing. The read itself has to be there, obviously, but it's recreating that in the booth where it's a cold read, or you've done some prep on it, whatever. But that's the thing. So the demo itself is really important to get you in. But agents will still use, and you also as an entrepreneur, use that demo or your demos as your marketing tool. It's a massively important piece. The length of demos is now being called into question. Do we need a demo that's exactly 60 seconds? Do we want, some demos are now down to 30 seconds. Do we put 3 spots on there? There's also the whole idea of the 5-second spot, of doing 6 5-second spots for a 30-second demo. there's a lot of different ways that things are being created now and different ways of marketing, because buyers' attention spans are really shrinking, that they really want to focus on. And here's the other thing. Specialized demos are also important, because if you're sending a demo to a reality producer, don't send them a spot with, romantic comedies on it or whatever. It's also very cool. Mix and match your ways. Bo Weaver, as you mentioned Bo before, Bo is a master of marketing in terms of the number of demos he has on his site and how he offers opportunities to buyers. And he doesn't rely on his agents and his managers to tell him how to market. And I've always been that way with my agents and my managers that I've worked with, is I give them the marketing tools and I say, we're doing this demo. What do you think? Tweak and change and whatever. Keep your agents in reps, keep them in the fold, keep them in the loop, but don't wait for someone. I think this was brought up, you guys brought it up earlier. Don't wait for the reps to come forward, to come to you and go, you need to be aggressive, in your career. And that includes your demo. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Here's one from the chat room from Dan Nacktrab, and he says, what is the most challenging hang-up students may have, and how do you help overcome it?
Hi, Danny. The biggest hang-up, give me a second. It's trusting, talking about the TrueTell, talking about when you tell a story authentically, a lot of times it's really hard for an actor to let go and to trust that the story they're telling is what the buyer wants. But again, we go back to the everyday conversation. You, 9 times out of 10 during the day, take the booth out of the equation. You're pretty confident in the conversations you have with people.
I'd like to think so, yeah.
I think so. So it's like when you walk out, when you talk to clients or you talk to your family, you do whatever, you walk away from conversations not going, I shouldn't have said that. I don't know why I said it. I don't know. 9 times out of 10, you're pretty confident when you put the head in the pillow at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing here in the booth. Why would you put yourself through something when you're feeling inauthentic about it? And I think that when we find that ace in the hole, we find that pie, and we find that opening in the sky where you find the truth, it's scary as hell for some people, because they're like, am I enough? Is that enough? Is my voice enough? And I think, to answer Dan's question, I've had this happen with clients countless times where I say, let go. Let it go. Fall off the cliff. I'll catch you. That it's okay to do that, because that's the only way to really come to understand your true, authentic story, the way you talk. Because that's what the pros actually know how to step in the booth and own it.
Right.
It's owning it consistently, day in and day out. Don't wait for a director or an agent to nurture you and to compliment you. Just own it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
From the Facebook room, Beth Hunter says, will VO work lesson based on the use of digital voices? Like synthesized voices, I guess is what she's saying.
Right. Because we've talked about how Google is now actually, we're talking about perfecting the actual human voice. I think that, and this was brought up in Facebook chats over the last week or so, and one of the things that was brought up is, will that affect certain aspects? Yes, it will. However, the nuance of storytelling is it cannot be synthesized. The nuance of what major buyers want when it comes to certain automated companies and systems and things like that, will that really kind of take the place for what we do maybe in e-learning sometimes, or in corporate narration for some products?
Yeah.
Yeah. Will that replace the whole industry? No.
The low end of
it can, but I think that when it comes to the actual nuance of storytelling, and I think even in corporate narration and industrials, there's a nuance of storytelling in that. There's a passion that's part of that.
Yeah.
That automated voices or synthesized voices won't replace.
I think of it like symphonies are still being used and scoring is still being used on all the big Hollywood features. People know what a real incredibly great composer in an orchestra sounds like.
I agree.
And on kids' cartoons on Cartoon Network, it's probably a guy with a synthesizer full of samples.
Right.
You know, and there's all these different tiers. So
Yeah,
those
but
bottom end things may be more digital.
Absolutely. But I
Yeah.
think that, it's Beth. Yes, the
Yes.
person that asked.
Mhm.
Beth, very good question, though. That it's important for us to even talk about it, though, that there is some part of the business that's shifting. And it's important to really to bring it up and have a dialogue about it. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should we get that one from Fred Norris?
Yeah.
Hi, Fred.
It's an interesting question.
No, I think it's
because-
cool. It's about choosing a coach, right?
Yeah.
He says, I'm thinking of 2 or 3 different coaches and maybe starting with 2 to 3 sessions each with each of those coaches. Is that a sensible approach? He's asking. So
very good question.
Yeah.
I don't believe so. Because, well, here's the thing. For a couple of coaches, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Because you're not sure. It's a marriage. It's a dance because
it's like a date.
And
Going on 2 dates.
It's like a date. It's like totally.
If you
it's
know after
literally-
the second date whether it's
It's round table dating. It's kind of.
Do you make a connection with that person?
Totally. And I say to people who prospectively work with me, I'm like, let's come in, take your shoes off, feel it out, see if it works. And if it doesn't work for you in a session, no offense. I would never want someone to work with me if they didn't want to work with me. And I think any coach would say the same thing. So I think if you're looking around to shop around, if you're doing it to shop around, that's one thing. But if you're doing it to see people's different methods, that just creates confusion for you as a talent.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do 4 sessions with this person, 3 sessions with this person, 5 sessions with this person.
Yeah, don't do a Whitman sampler of coaches.
Don't do the sampler. It's because then it's creating. You've got different methods in your head.
Yeah,
it
you'll
just
have
confuses
conflicting
it.
techniques.
Yeah, sample
Conflicting
people to find the person that you want to date. That's what I would say.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Jack he had to leave before he got to answer this one and ask this one himself. But sorry, Jack. But Dave, does your technique transfer to genres such as promo also?
Good question. Yeah, it does, and that's the great thing about it is that it's again based in everyday conversation. So it's promo, narration, trailer, affiliate, imaging, commercial, all of that, and that also includes e-learning, IVR, corporate narration, all of it. Because even if you're doing a narration for Boeing or for Lockheed or for IBM, 3M, doesn't matter whom. Even the military, sometimes people think because some of this corporate narration is so heavy in serial numbers and pricing and whatever, there's no story. Those clients have stories that are just as important to tell. So it applies to everything.
All right.
Good question.
All right. Well, Dave, as always,
Dan,
big pleasure.
George, as always, thank you guys.
All right.
You're always welcome here, Dave.
Yes. And if someone wants to get a hold of you and for coaching,
they can reach me at dave@walshvoiceovercoaching.com Facebook page and reach out.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
All righty. Go do that.
Thank
All right.
you, guys.
All right. Well, George and I will be back in just a minute to wrap things up into a nice, tight little ball. So don't go away.
Bye, guys.
Your dynamic voiceover career requires extra resources to keep moving ahead. Now there's one place where you can explore everything the voiceover industry has to offer. That place is voiceoverxtra.com. Whether you're just exploring a voiceover career or a seasoned veteran ready to reach that next professional level, stay in touch with market trends, coaching, products, and services while avoiding scams and other pitfalls. VoiceOver Xtra has hundreds of articles, free resources, and training that will save you time and help you succeed. Learn from the most respected talents, coaches, and industry insiders when you join the online sessions bringing you the most current information on topics like audiobooks, auditioning, casting, home studio setup and equipment, marketing, performance techniques, and much more. It's time to hit your one-stop daily resource for voiceover success. Sign up for a free subscription to newsletters and reports and get 14 bonus reports on how to ace the voiceover audition. It's all here at voiceoverxtra.com. That's voiceoverxtra.com.
Voiceover Body Shop, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, on VOBS.us.
Well, Harlan Hogan's been our sponsor for years and years and years. And I I mean, almost 7 years.
That just boggles the mind.
Yeah, it
We
does.
really appreciate that consistency, don't we?
Absolutely. And the thing is, you know, he had this thing last week where they were in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And he promised everybody who showed up a pair of mopeds. Everybody. And there's an actual picture of all the people with all the mopeds. There they are. See, they actually got their mopeds. And it
proof right there.
Absolute proof. You know, it was sold out. It was a huge success. And, you know, and everybody got their moped things. But why is it important to decouple your monitors?
Vibration, folks.
Well, that's why you would do that. You know, I mean, if you saw how I was set up here, you'd see that my studio monitors are on mopeds,
yeah.
and I found that, you know, they angle the speakers right because studio monitors are near field monitors, and they've got to be, you know, at ear level
Tilt them
and
into ears.
right. And if you have them flat on a hard surface, there could be reverberation through that surface and stuff like that. So that's why you decouple them.
Think of it as a shock mount for your speakers.
For your studio monitors.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So he also wanted to issue a brief warning that packing and upholstery foam and all the cheap crap masquerading on the internet as acoustic foam is garbage.
It's packing foam.
That's right.
Not acoustic.
And that's why their porta booths, which you need to go buy over at voiceoveressentials.com, are powered by Oralex. I didn't know they were actually powered by Oralex, but that's the way he wrote it. But, you know, go on over to voiceoveressentials.com. Check out all the great stuff that Harlan has over there. Yeah. Everything you could possibly need for your voiceover studio, he has. And if it's not right there, it actually is, because he can get anything from anywhere, and he guarantees his stuff. And if you don't like it, what's not to like? You can send it back. Great customer service, super guy, great stuff. And of course, his signature products like the Porta Booth and the Signature Series headphones and the VO1A vocal microphone. So go on over to voiceoveressentials.com right at the bottom of the page there and click on the picture of Harlan, and it'll take you right there, and you can buy all his stuff. So go do that right after the show.
You're watching VOBS.TV. I don't know why. It's crazy what they do here. I think I'm going to go somewhere else and have a cheese sandwich.
Yep, this is VOBS.
And come to me. All right. Let's talk about Source Elements, because we got to get this spot in too. Very important. We missed them earlier. Source Elements, the creators of Source Connect, and they are a fantastic tool to have in your tool belt. If you're going to have new tools for 2018, this is one you should seriously consider if you don't have it already. What's it do? Connects your studio with any other studio in the world. Chances are any major commercial studio, and even a lot of the small ones that produce voiceover work, are using Source Connect to bring talent into the studio without physically going in. It allows real-time connections to studios, sort of like Skype, but much higher quality audio, very stable, and something that is now a lot more affordable than it used to be because the barrier to entry has dropped. You can get it on a monthly installment plan. Basically, you can rent the software and pay for it as you go. So if you want to give that a try, go to source-elements.com, and you can sign up for a 15-day free trial of Source Connect Standard right now and start using it right away. Make sure they know we sent you. All right. Should we say goodnight?
I suppose we should.
All right.
It's kind of weird looking at you without a tie.
One show with a tie, and now you're used to it.
300 shows, and you wear a tie once, and now I'm like totally used to it. Anyway, who are some of the donors of the week?
Donors of the week. Let's go take a look, shall we? We need some donor of the week music now, don't we? We're in the money. Look at Tracy H. Reynolds, very regular donor to us. Thank you. Andrew Kaufman, those came in tonight. Eric Aragoni, who really pretty much never misses an episode. What a guy. Thank you, man. I saw Andrew already, Eric, and let's scroll back to last month where I see you just never know what Google's going to show you in these emails. Sometimes the name's there, sometimes it's not. We also have donations from, and it's freezing, Don Griffith.
Oh, thanks, Don.
And he's a subscriber. He sends us money regularly, which is very kind of you. Martha Kahn. Thank you, Martha.
We love Martha.
So kind. And last but not least, Uncle Roy, still sending us money from Antland Productions.
All right.
Thanks, Unc.
Okay. Well, remember, you can contact us at
georgethetech.com.
And me at homevoiceoverstudio.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll help you out with your home studio. Show logs accessible soon as it gets up on Facebook.
Yeah, usually within a day of the show. Sometimes
Jack has it right up there. Every word that was said to every detail.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully he said he's going to come visit us one of these days.
Yeah, he's up in Vegas. He's got a bit of a drive.
Right. Yeah. Also, we're on a podcast.
Yeah, that's right. This show is, many of you may be listening to it already. And if you'd rather consume the show in podcast form, you can do that. Just go to any podcatching thing.
This will be a good one for that, too.
Your iTunes podcast software, Stitcher, whatever it is, and just type in VOBS. You can listen to us or be here live.
Which you can do if you happen to be in the greater Los Angeles area, whether you're visiting or whether you live here. Come join us here in Sherman Oaks, and on a Monday night, the way you do that is write to us here at theguys at VOBS.tv. And, you know, if we like you, we'll let you in.
Yeah, Dan will give you the secret handshake and
the secret code and anyway.
The gate code.
Yes. Survey. Take the survey on our website too, so George and I get a really good idea what you guys really want to see. And I'm sure what you got tonight was exactly what you wanted to see.
I hope so, because it was good stuff.
Right. Well, we need to thank our sponsors like Harlan Hogan's Voice Over Essentials,
Voice Over Xtra,
Source Elements,
VO2GoGo,
J. Michael Collins, and VoiceActorWebsites.com for providing this uninterrupted bandwidth. Because we know what happens when we don't have uninterrupted bandwidth.
Yes, we do. We were on the ragged edge there once or twice tonight, but we don't think we ever went off the air. So
yeah. Well, we'd like to thank Marcy for letting us be out here in the garage, but she wouldn't care because she's in Florida tonight, so it doesn't really matter. Our producer, Catherine Curran, for finding us great guests like Dave Walsh.
Absolutely. Found him again.
That's right. And and she's off in the middle of nowhere, freezing her butt off in Indiana right now. She's been on the road for like a month now.
Crazy.
And of course, Jack Daniel for the great job in the chat room.
And holding down the floor producer spot tonight too as well.
Right. And
technical director
Susan
Merlino really stepped up tonight. This was her first show switching it herself, and well, I think she did a pretty darn good job. You know,
we got through it.
I've done the show myself a million times, and I've messed up many more times than she did tonight. So I'd
which
say,
would be tens of millions of times.
So thanks, great job, Susan.
Right. And of course, we'd like to thank Jack for doing the show notes, and Lee Penny simply for being Lee Penny. Come visit us, Lee. Anyway, that's going to do it for us this week. Again, this is not an easy business. You got to study, you got to work, you need good information. We're here to give it to you every Monday night on Voice Over Body Shop, and we appreciate you coming in to our little area and letting us come into your little area. And we'll see you next week with another guest and more cool stuff on Voice Over Body Shop. I'm Dan Lenard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is Voice Over
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. Have a